Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:06. It's O'Connor and Company chugging along here on our 4-hour morning extravaganza. Thanks for coming along on the ride. We love being part of your commute and your morning routine. Coming up at 7:15, Lee Zeldin of New York. We'll talk about the latest from the Trump campaign and the prep for the debate. 7:35, Peyton McNabb, one of the athletes affected by Democrats letting men play women's sports. She's on that IWF bus tour rolling into town today. 8:05, Nick Minnock, Emmy Award-winning investigative reporter for ABC 7. And then at 8:35, Billboard Chris Elston, U.S. Supreme Court going to hear a challenge to ban transgender care for minors. Beautiful thing to see. We'll talk to Billboard Chris about that. Here's another beautiful thing to see, Mercedes Schlapp. Good morning, Mercedes.
Good morning, Larry. And my no makeup, hair is a mess type of day.
You have natural beauty, and you know
yeah. You're blind. Anyways, but it's great to be here.
Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, now has announced that he is pleading guilty as part of a plea deal with the Justice Department. It will allow him to go free after spending 5 years in a British prison. He receives credit for the time served in the UK. He will be released, and he is expected to return to his home country of Australia. And this appears to be the end of the Julian Assange saga, although if I were Julian Assange, he's going to be looking over his shoulder for the rest of his life. But it sort of brings up the entire saga here of WikiLeaks, what it accomplished, how it changed our country and the political conversation, how Julian Assange was treated differently than any other journalist, and whether, in retrospect, after years of discussion and debate and drama, if Julian Assange is in fact a political prisoner and martyr to the First Amendment and a hero to free speech and transparency in government, or if he is nothing more than a info terrorist and enemy of the United States of America. Let's face it, I mean, he had two huge stories that he broke through his through encouraging Americans to leak information. Well, three big stories. The first, it had to do with Edward Snowden and the information, the military secrets that he stole that the people in the military to this day will tell you led to innocent Americans getting killed in the line of duty. Edward Snowden still on the lam, living in Russia now. The other had to do with, God, I don't even remember his real name, Chelsea...
what was
the now transgender
yes.
Whistleblower from? I'm so sorry, Manning. Thank you, Bradley Manning, who now goes by Chelsea, who again stole military secrets. But then the third leak, which is probably the reason why he had to deal with the criminal charges, was the WikiLeaks of Hillary Clinton's emails during her campaign that exposed John Podesta and all of the strategy inside the Clinton campaign. That's what they were really angry about.
Right,
but I got to ask you, after all of this, Mercedes, is there if this were the Washington Post, the New York Times, CNN, any network,
yes.
if they had gotten the exact same information and it was damaging to Donald Trump, his campaign, or his presidency, they'd be getting Pulitzer Prizes. I have no doubt.
Yeah.
So I am more sympathetic to Julian Assange than I ever have been in my career, based on everything that we have learned about what our government does and how the FBI and the CIA operate.
And there was a lot of these coordinated campaigns, grassroots people involved in political activism trying to say free Julian Assange. And, he was literally placed in a tiny cell, isolated for 23 hours a day for 5 years, never met his kids. And, it's just, look, the mere fact is that when you look at the Hillary situation, and I think you mentioned this, which is Hillary Clinton proposed a drone strike on Julian Assange back in 2010, basically saying, quote, can't we just drone this guy as a way to silence Assange? It's scary. It is scary because when you think about the corruption of Hillary Clinton, when you think about the corruption of the Clinton Global Initiative, and the list goes on and on. And you're right, if it would have been any other reporter, if it would have been a New York Times reporter, Washington Post reporter, they would be a hero. They would be heroes. And this is obviously not the case where they threw this man in jail.
Listen, our military has to have secrets. I recognize that when they're engaged in war. And the secrets that Edward Snowden revealed through his illegal leak from when he worked at a defense contractor, those were secrets that were revealed while our military was actively engaged in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I believe that is a betrayal of our military, a betrayal of our nation. And I don't want secrets leaked about our military when they're engaged in combat. So I don't want to throw down on the side of encouraging that or celebrating that in any way whatsoever. But yet at the same time, we know exactly how secretive and how nefarious entities within our United States government can be, and they cover so many things up and conceal them from the American people, things that we do have the right to know. And
Right.
they do it all under the guise of national security, and it's bogus. This is the problem when you have such a top secret mentality in this city, where everything is considered, on a need to know basis, and they're able to do so many things that are contrary to the will of the American people under the guise of national security.
I just think, like, when you think of the John Brennan, James Clapper mentality,
Yeah.
these people who have done everything they could to undermine Donald Trump, that still have their security clearances,
Yep.
it is disgusting. It is awful, because you know that they are politically motivated. It is not about necessarily, it is to protect the powers that be, and they still go around and create all this havoc and all this chaos. And I think, the other piece of this is that when you had the fact that all these embarrassing emails came out on Hillary Clinton and the campaign and from the Democrat National Committee, that was when it caused the big stir up there.
That really
Hillary
was
Clinton
the beginning of the end for Julian Assange.
Yeah.
That was the cardinal sin, was turning on Democrats. Yeah, and let's face it. Part of the WikiLeaks revelations was that, yes, in fact, the NSA is collecting data, information, text messages, phone calls on innocent Americans with a giant net that they're not supposed to do. They were doing it secretly, and it was during the Obama administration that policy, we're told, was changed and stopped. And it would not have happened had Julian Assange not revealed that through his leaks. I wish that Assange, this is the problem with WikiLeaks, is that they just dump it all without any sort of judgment, without any sort of circumspection that says, wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't release this bit of information because this is dangerous and this could get people killed. It puts people in harm's way. Instead, they dump everything. And when you don't have any judgment at all, when you've got classified information in your hands, that will get people harmed. And we do need to have certain secrets in our government as we deal with very dangerous people who want to destroy this country, enemies overseas. So, again, as typical with WikiLeaks, it's a mixed bag.
It is.
But when all is said and done, I lean toward more truth, more information, more transparency than less. I always want to be on the side of revealing more about what our government does, not covering it up.
I agree with you, but let me ask you this: on Snowden, what's your feeling about him? Because he did give military secrets,
and I think he's more culpable than WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks is a journalistic endeavor, and they put it out. Edward Snowden deliberately stole that information. He violated his oath. He violated his contracts. He is more culpable, I think, than WikiLeaks. And I know people may think that's splitting hairs, but it's not. It's not. When you're in that position, you're much more culpable and you are more guilty of those crimes. And by the way, let's not also forget that Bradley Manning, now Chelsea Manning, was actually let free by Barack Obama. Bradley Manning, he was convicted. He was in jail. Obama set him free. So if the actual person, Bradley Manning, who stole the information, can be let free, certainly Julian Assange, the website that published the information, should be able to be let free. And as of today, he is. It is 6:16 now. Let's get straight.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live.
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
You've heard the news. Now get the facts. It's the Vince Colonnese Show, weekdays 3 to 6, right here on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
As we've been mentioning, we are 2 days out from this debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. That's why you haven't seen Joe Biden anywhere. He is squirreled away at Camp David for intense debate prep. He's getting a lot of injections, some in his face to plump him up a little bit, because I don't know if you saw a picture of him a couple of weeks ago. He's got, like some of the injections and the things are sort of drooping left and right. They got to like plump him up, right?
They got to plump him up. Yeah.
So he looks a little less.
He might get a nice facial or something. That would be nice.
Corpse-like. Yeah, that's one word for it. They're also, of course, tinkering with his Adderall and other kind of medications to sort of wire him up. They're also getting him on a new sleep pattern. So instead of 8 o'clock in the evening being the end of his long workday that begins at noon and ends at 2, he'll be waking up probably 3 hours before the debate. So he'll be firing it on all cylinders.
Ready to go.
They've done this before for the State of the Union.
I wish I had his schedule.
Yeah. That said, I still think he's. I don't know why, Mercedes, but in the back of my mind, I still don't think this debate's going to happen. I just don't think that they're going to risk having Joe Biden go out there and.
My sweet conspiracy theorist, who I love so much, said, "They're like, you're just going to see." This is I was talking to a dear friend of mine. I know you think, Larry, you're my only dear friend, but I have several. Then saying to me, they're like, "You're going to see. There's going to be some sort of like national security emergency, and before you know it, he'll be like, Biden will be like, as commander in chief, I cannot do this presidential debate. I must go back to the White House." You're going to see.
Yes. A major priority that will have to get in the way, even though, of course, he's been missing in action. Isn't it weird that the President of the United States is just completely disappeared for an entire week?
And let me explain something
And the media is totally fine with that?
I've been to Camp David, and when you talk about an isolated location, you can't even bring your phone into the facility. Like, you lock up your phone outside before you go in.
Well, according to...
very isolated area.
Sorry, needed to jump into the details here. New York Times has a column, Inside Biden's Camp David Debate Prep. So apparently reporter Katie Rogers is able to go and report on what he's doing. At Camp David, a movie theater and an airplane hangar have been outfitted with lights and production equipment to create a mock debate stage. At least 16 current and former aides summoned from Washington and Wilmington whiz back and forth on golf carts to join President Biden in strategy sessions. You notice he doesn't put this kind of effort into, fixing the economy or, solving military adventures overseas or, maybe protecting the border. I mean, it's all hands on deck, and they're like totally rebuilding Camp David to do a simulation of a television studio for him. But he doesn't give a second thought to the porous border and the rapes of innocent people. That he doesn't have time for.
I wonder if CNN gave them all the dimensions. They're like, this is the exact size of the stage.
Right.
So
we want to make sure he's comfortable.
So you can walk 20 steps, then turn left, and then get on the right podium, because that's what you agreed on. Maybe that's why he picked the right side of the the right podium.
It's a shorter walk. It's like the short stairs.
That's what they did. They're like, all you need to do is 20 steps forward, then 5 to the left, then don't look at Donald Trump. I could totally see this.
So meanwhile, what is Donald Trump doing for his debate prep? Well, if you believe the Babylon Bee, and there's no reason why you shouldn't,
the Babylon Bee.
Trump preps for debate against Biden by going to nursing home and arguing with dementia patients.
That's fantastic.
Probably not exactly it, but according to Politico, Trump's advisors have been arranging the sessions focused on individual topics they expect will likely come up at the debate. For instance, Trump had a recent session on immigration that included Tom Homan. We love Tom Homan. He's having a lot of individual policy discussions, so he can be read in deep on the policies. And he's not actually doing mock debates or anything. Did he do mock debates in 2020, Mercy? You were on that campaign.
So he did. I mean, here's the deal. It's not necessarily mock debates as it is more of discussion. Like, you ask him the question, and then he kind of, he formulates and goes through it in the back and forth with his policy advisors, and some of the lawyers are in there too, remember, because they're going to be asking about, you're a convicted felon, how are you allowed to run? Look, let's put bets on what the first question is going to be. Are you going to accept the election results? I mean, that's really going to be probably one of the first questions for Donald Trump. So you've denied the election results in 2020. Would you accept the election result in 2024? Right. This is where we're going to go.
This is because that's what matters most to the American voters right now, with crime and murder and rape and the cost of eggs, $8. I like Katie Pavlich's answer, by the way, yesterday on Fox News. She had a great answer that Donald Trump should use that it just completely slipped my mind. Darn you, Mercedes. Wait, a question about I'll remember it in a minute.
Okay, we'll bring it back up. Don't worry. I'm sorry, Joe Biden.
But either
way,
Katie Pavlich is brilliant, and I love her. It's 6:36. It's O'Connor and Company on this Tuesday morning. Thanks so much for letting us be a part of your morning routine. Coming up later in the day, we've got 7:15, Lee Zeldin from New York. 7:35, Peyton McNabb, one of the athletes affected by men playing women's sports. 8:05 brings us Emmy award-winning reporter Nick Minnock from WJLA. And then at 8:35, Billboard Chris Elston. Supreme Court decided yesterday to hear a challenge to ban transgender care for minors. I wouldn't call it care, by the way. I would call it transgender procedures. Let's use that word. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Mercedes Schlapp. Good morning, Mercedes.
Good morning, Larry.
Do you like to bring the family to the beach during the summer months?
Oh, I'm such a beach girl, but I like the beaches down south because I need like warm water, which drives Matt crazy.
No, that's understandable. Totally get that.
But I grew up in Miami.
In New York, which is not down south, it's up north, by the way, they're having a thing called Fat Beach Day. It's to create Fat Beach Day. It's to create an accepting environment for plus-size community so that they can have a space for people to be themselves. Now,
I
just want you to know that I have spent time at the beach this summer and the last several years. And based on my personal observation, plus-size people don't seem too shy about going to the beach and displaying
and
their
wearing
wares.
what they want to wear, right?
Of course they do. Yeah, there's no, I mean, maybe there are some who, or maybe this is for like the really plus-size people, like Leonardo DiCaprio's mom in that Gilbert Grape movie. I mean, we're talking super big.
It's kind of creating these safe spaces, right? It's like, well, you're not you should all come and, we're just going to have a lot of hot dogs and donuts and it's okay. And, come on. Like, really? Like, don't people just want to live their lives and just be left alone, whether you're plus size or not?
Yeah. It's certainly going to make a splash, I'll tell you that. Fat Beach Day events are appearing across the United States, aiming to create spaces for plus-size community to gather, including one on Saturday in Far Rockaway up in New York. New York Post is reporting on it. Jordan Underwood, the organizer, says we're really trying to open up a space for people to be themselves. Here's what it's the mixed messages that bother me, because the same people are saying, don't you're not allowed to call anybody fat or overweight or make any judgments about their health if they just happen to be large, right? Yet at the same time, they're the food Nazis who, start screaming at you if you eat a hamburger or if you eat, they want to take all the good food out of our kids' schools and make them eat cardboard and
well, the reality is, look, and you know this, you've gone to Europe. I mean, the American food, it is so processed. I can't even tell you. It's so critical if we could go back to the basics of buying from local farmers, really buying fresh produce, but here's the deal. God made us all different, right?
Yes.
Like, God made skinny people, made, larger people. And I think the key is that they try to divide us all. And I think, and look, it is a bit, it's from society and culture, but I think this idea that, like there's one person, her name was Emma Zach, who said, I'm so self-conscious at the beach and I'm never around people that look like me. So she's excited that they're having this space for bigger bodies.
Why do you need to have all these planned events, though? That's what's...
You don't need the planned events, right? It has to be like, all right, it's like the gay people one day, and then we do the plus-size people the next day.
Not everybody needs their own
Barbie-looking
flag,
people the
okay?
day after.
Yes,
it's
just
crazy.
be normal. Be yourself.
Yeah.
In L.A. or in Chicago, they're doing a Fat Friends pool party on July 13th. In Los Angeles, they're doing a Bellies Out Beach Day for a few weeks.
Bellies Out. I can participate in that one. That's for sure.
Here's what
Ms.
Zach, the person quoted here, said. It's a really bleep time, not just on the internet, but in society, to be fat. And it feels really violent in a lot of ways. No, it's not violent. Just stop saying it's violent. If you are self-conscious about the way you look, then do something about it. And if you're not self-conscious about it, then don't do anything about it. Do your thing, but don't tell me that because you're self-conscious that somehow society is creating violence. Because you know what violence really is, Ms. Zach? Violence is violence. And we've got plenty of it right now. You don't need to have your self-conscious body opinion about yourself be suddenly equated to violence. It lessens actual violence.
So, my daughters, they're into sports or dance. So one of my girls, Alyssa, you know Alyssa well, the number 3, she's a competitive dancer, and she is a strong, muscular girl. She's not your thin, super thin,
right? She's no waif
ballerina. And she is amazing how she talks about how you got to love your body. Like, you love your body, you're strong, you don't have to be the skinny Winnie and this obsession with skinniness. And I think that there's something really beautiful when you're able to do that, even at such a young age. But to know that this obsession with, like, the Bellies Out Beach Day and the plus-size beach day, and let's just all stick together, I don't think that's healthy either.
It's not. It's absolutely not healthy. The other aspect, of course, of the very shallow and I think not high-minded opinion of this is that some people go to the beach for the scenery,
Lately, it's been a lot of but this happened in Miami growing up. It was like the women would wear thongs and they didn't care if they were plus size
Thongs
or not.
are back. I have noticed
thongs
that this
are bad,
summer.
Especially on men. Oh, that's rough.
Stop.
What are they thinking?
I don't want to see anyone's butt, even if it's the most beautiful butt. Here's the thing about butts. Even the most beautiful butt in the world is still a butt. And it's not the most beautiful part of your body. I promise you.
Still a butt.
It's still a butt. The prettiest butt is still a butt, and I just don't need it, no matter what size. So enjoy your Fat Beach Day, everybody.
Going. Huh?
It's 6:43. I don't know if you've seen this, and I don't know what to make of it. I'll be honest with you. I haven't watched The Bachelor or The Bachelorette in many years. I used to watch it all the time. But a former Bachelorette star named Josh Sider, or is it Sater? Seiter, Sider. Josh Sider is apparently transitioning to being a woman. Josh Sider is doing daily videos in the spirit of Dylan Mulvaney, day 3 of being a girl, day 12 of being a girl, right? And doing the whole Dylan. But here's the difference. Dylan Mulvaney was a gay man. Well, is still a gay man, but it was a gay man Broadway chorus boy who decided during the pandemic that he wanted to be a girl, so he did this whole thing, but he already had this whole effeminate thing. Josh Sider, on the other hand, he's a man. He's covered in tattoos. He's hairy. He's constantly got a 5 o'clock shadow. He's got big, thick man hands. He's got a man's haircut. He looks like a fireman, but then he puts on a sundress and lipstick. And, well, take a listen to him. Here's what he's doing with his videos. Listen.
Hey, everyone. Sorry I look like a hot mess today. I just wanted to vent a little bit. I feel like dates can be so cheap. The last couple of dates that I've gone on, I've expected the guy to pay because I feel like the man should pay for the first date, and they just don't want to. And so I just had a date earlier this afternoon, and I sat there when the bill came, and finally I just said, the guy should pay first, and kind of pushed it towards him, and he said, well, in that case, you should pay. And I just thought, That is so rude. And I just don't understand what the issue is. I feel like everyone's trying to get something for free these days. I don't understand. I just want to go on a date and have the man be a gentleman and treat me right, treat me like a woman. So if any of you are having the same experience, let me know.
Let me just be clear. This is a former contestant on The Bachelorette where he competed against other men to win the heart of a woman. Now he claims he dates men and wears a dress and is he uses she, her pronouns, which of course the media is now immediately adopting.
Of course.
And calling this guy her.
Right. He's wearing this strapless flowery dress and he's got red nail polish and he says he feels better when he's wearing lipstick.
I'm sorry. I feel like this is all one great giant satirical hox, and he's just showing the absurdity. It's like if Dylan Mulvaney is giving him advice. But here's what's so sad. So he was on the Bachelorette, and then he was eliminated during the first week because then he came out pansexual. Yeah.
So he came out as pansexual in 2021, and then apparently there was this whole situation where someone hacked his social media account, said that he was dead, and that totally sent him to a mental hospital where he
checked himself into a mental institution.
And so there's so many underlying psychological problems, and he's thinking that by putting on red lipstick and painting your nails red, that's going to make you feel better. I mean, this is where we are in society. It is.
Here's something. Yeah.
And he was a handsome man. I mean, the pictures I'm seeing, handsome man.
Well, he looks exactly the same. He's just wearing lipstick. I mean, what do you?
The lipstick makes him look like an ugly.
Because that's all it takes. And by the way, if this is genuine, by the way, it's so insulting to women. It's so insulting. Like all
it's
I have
so
to do
insulting
is
to
say
women.
these things and talk this way and do
and
a
you should
hand
pay
gesture.
for my food and
that's
blah,
what
blah,
makes
blah.
me a woman. And it's despicable. Here's how the Daily Mail. This is where we are.
Is.
While fans were initially supportive of the 37-year-old's decision, some have now questioned her intentions and accused the reality star of trolling for attention, which I'm quite sure that's what it is. I mean, after all, he's a reality TV star. He was willing to go on a network show and compete against other men to, get a woman to propose to him. I mean, right there, you're kind of an attention hound, let's call it. Sider, who was caught up in a death hoax last year, raised eyebrows in her gender journey by refusing to shave her body hair and claiming that she felt more feminine when she wasn't wearing a wig. And who are you to complain? I love that people are like, well, if you're really going to be a woman, you need to shave your body hair. Why? Who are you to tell him what kind of woman she's supposed to be?
Him. But then he insisted that his transition was the real deal and said that his haters were just jealous of her gorgeous good looks.
Right.
Let me tell you, gorgeous good looks, yeah, maybe as a guy, but as a pretend woman, not so much. I mean, he's got issues. He's got mental issues. This is where we are. And he does seek attention. This is totally trying to be the next Dylan Mulvaney so he can get multi-million-dollar deals.
Listen,
whoa, this photo of him. Whoa. Did you see the photo with the pink shirt?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Wow, that is rough.
That is one manly dude. And
what is up with the eyebrows?
We are compelled to celebrate it and not be judgmental in any way whatsoever.
Don't be judgmental, Larry.
I feel much better about myself.
He kind of looks like you. I mean, without the lipstick.
Thanks, Mercy. It's 6:52, and they offer 2-hour doorstep delivery in most of Northern Virginia for just $5. That means no more wandering around grocery